So let us start the session. So this is the fourth session in the series of orienting you guys to civil services anthropology examination and its demand. Fourth such session. So in the first session, what I have done in the first session, I have introduced you to anthropology and what is anthropology and why to choose an optional subject like anthropology. That is what we have discussed in the second session. So what we have spoken is chapter 1.1, 1.2 and chapter 1.3. I said these three chapters are like gateway to anthropology. Gateway to anthropology, they introduce you to the subject of anthropology, right? Then in the next session, I have introduced you guys, in yesterday's session, I have introduced you guys to idea of evolutionary anthropology, which I said is covered in chapters like 1.4, 1.5 and 1.6. Yesterday, due to paucity of time, I could not talk much about chapter 1.6, but chapter 1.6, as I've already said, is just a continuity of what we usually do as part of 1.4, 1.5 and 1. In chapter 1.5, we have learned it through some primates, and we have tried to establish that we humans are just part of the primates. Now let me share the screen and let me introduce you guys the idea of chapter 1.6. You can see it here. The syllabus says it like this. In common man's parlance, we call this topic as fossil man. Fossil man. And as part of the syllabus, the mandate is very simple. You can look at the syllabus which has been specifically mentioned. Phylogenetic status, characteristics, and geographical distribution of the following. They have given it like this: phylogenetic status, characteristics, and geographical distribution. These are all simple English words, right? There is nothing much anthropology here. Phylogenetic status might be slightly unfamiliar term to you. In a very short span of time, you will understand what is this phylogenetic status, characteristics, and geographical distribution of the following. And after putting that heading, they have mentioned names like this: Pleo, Pleistocene, Homo erectus, Neanderthal man, Rhodesian man, Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. So this is how, they have mentioned the specific names to make it little more clearer to you. Let me show you guys one particular image. This guy whom you can see here is considered to be our earliest ancestor. Means this is how we humans, the first ever human on the planet, used to look like. And we have given this guy a name called as Australopithecus. And look here in the syllabus, they have mentioned the same thing. Australopithecus. Australopithecines is the name they have given. It is nothing but plural of Australopithecus. And syllabus is expecting us to know the characteristics of this guy, and the geographical distribution of this guy. I'll come to phylogenetic status. Please be little patient. I know that is a new term for you, but that's a very easy term. Don't think it's a difficult term. Characteristics. Just now I have read out for you characteristics, right? What are those characteristics? Could be a natural doubt for you. Two types of characteristics. Physical characteristics, cultural characteristics. I'll repeat, physical characteristics, cultural characteristics. Physical characteristics means again very simple. Look, I'm just saying that this guy is resembling a human, but don't you think this guy is resembling more of a chimpanzee than a human? But in reality, he is a human. So when we discuss physical characteristics, we will say that, okay, this guy has a narrow shoulder like that of a chimpanzee. This guy has a wide chest or relatively less wider chest than we humans. And this guy has a wide waist, and this guy head looks more closer to a chimpanzee. This way, we will talk about some physical characteristics. Physical means how he looks externally. We will talk about some physical characteristics. Physical characteristics. Like this. We will just look at some physical characteristics. Apart from physical characteristics, we will also study a little bit about this guys. Cultural characteristics. Cultural characteristics means what were the conditions under which this guy lived. Does this guy knows the idea of family? Does this guy know the idea of marriage? Does this guy know the idea of God? Does this guy know the idea of economy, polity? Like this, little bit of cultural characteristics also we will see. So I'm going to page 1 of the syllabus of this chapter 1.6. I said we would study phylogenetic status, characteristics and geographical distribution of 5 ancestors of human. First guy is Australopithecus, second guy is Homo erectus, third guy is Neanderthal man, fourth guy is Rhodesian man, fifth guy is ourselves, Homo sapiens. Even in Homo sapiens, which we are now, there are some who are in the beginning stages of our development. For them, we have given some names, and these names have come Cro-Magnon, Grimaldi, Chantilly. These are nothing but the sites at a particular phase. These at a particular place, these guys were located. These guys means their skeletons were located. So based on that place, we have given them names like, don't get panicked by looking at those names. What is this? Heidelbergensis, Neanderthal, Rhodesian. All these are the names of the places. Rhodesia is a place. Cro-Magnon is a place. Neander Valley is a place. Like this, Heidelberg is a place. All Java is a place. So these are all nothing but fossils. I'm sure all of you must be aware what is a fossil. How did we get to know about them? We got to know about them by locating their fossils, means their dead bodies and their skeletons. And we have identified them at one particular place. And based on that place, we have given them name. Let's say if somebody is found at Neander Valley, we have given them name Neanderthal man. Somebody is found at Rhodesia, we have given them the name Rhodesian man. Somebody found at some places like Cro-Magnon, Grimaldi, Chantilly. These are all the names of the places. Based on that, they were given specific names. Okay. So now, as I have already said, you have seen Australopithecus, right? Just like that, there is another guy called as Homo erectus. Homo erectus means as we are gradually evolving, if you can see the skull of this guy called as Australopithecus, is less similar to humans, whereas the skull of this guy called as Homo erectus is more similar to humans. humans. So in this way, what we would do is we will just study all these. This topic actually is very, very simple. What we do is we will just take these 5 ancestors of humans. Where did we find these 5 ancestors? We have found their skeletons when we have unearthed, and we have given them names. On what basis we have given them names? We have given them names based on the place from which we have unearthed them. Then what else we did? We try to study their physical characteristics and try to compare. Oh, when compared to Homo erectus, Australopithecus is more ancestral, or when compared to Neanderthal man, Homo erectus is more ancestral. When compared to Rhodesian man, Neanderthal is more ancestral. Okay, the last to come is Homo sapien. Then how do I prove it? I prove it just by looking at the skeleton. I will see their skull. I will say that this guy's skull is more close to monkey, so he is more close to monkey, less close to human. Like this, just we have 5 names: A, B, C, D, E. E is human, A is Australopithecus. So as you go from A to B to C to D to E, what will happen? Gradually features will change or characteristics will change, and characteristics will change in such a way that, or evolve in such a way that we will arrive at humans. Such a simple topic where we will study physical characteristics of these particular humans. We will also study a little bit about their cultural characteristics. Cultural characteristics means we will say, okay, this guy Homo erectus is the first to invent fire, or this guy Homo erectus is the first to live in a house, or this guy Neanderthal is the first to think about religion, or this guy Neanderthal is the first. Like this, we will not just talk about their physical characteristics, we will also try to know their cultural characteristics. As simple as that. And geographical distribution means nothing but in which parts of the world we have located these skeletons. And there is a reason why we are interested in geographical distribution that can be understood as part of the regular classes, because it requires slightly more detailed discussion. So, phylogenetic status, characteristics, and geographical distribution. Now I'll come last to phylogenetic status. The term might seem difficult, but it is very simple. Phylogenetic status is again nothing but, I have already used this term called as taxonomy or classification. In the process of classification, where should I situate them? Where should I situate them, or where I should be putting? Where should I situate them, or where I should be putting them? Again, where I will be putting, simple, I will be putting Australopithecus as the most ancestor, then I will be putting Homo erectus, then after that I will be putting Homo neanderthal, after that I will be putting either in parallel or later I will be putting this Homo heidelbergensis as mentioned here. Then I'll be putting Rhodesian man, then I'll be putting down Homo sapiens. With a very simple image, I can show it to you like this. What you are seeing is nothing but a phylogenetic chart. It's all about arranging them from he is the oldest guy, he is the youngest guy, who is oldest, who is youngest. So that forms the whole mandate of this topic. Again, according to me, a very simple topic. It might on its face look difficult, but I feel it's a very simple topic. Just phylogenetic status, arranging these guys in the order of who is ancient to who is earliest first. 2, talking about their characteristics. What type of characteristics? Both their physical characteristics and also their cultural characteristics. 3, talking about their geographical distribution. Who? These 5 guys. Australopithecus guy, Homo erectus guy, Neanderthal guy, Rhodesian guy, and Homo sapiens guy. So that forms the mandate of the syllabus of this particular topic called as chapter 1.6. Again, people think it as one of the toughest topic. In the whole syllabus, people brand 3 topics as tough, difficult. 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. And now I have introduced you guys in yesterday's class and today's class to 1.4, 1.5, 1.6. I am sure you would not have felt that, oh, this is so difficult, or this is, once these 3 topics are done, I believe 70% or 60% of the difficult anthropology is done. Rest of the anthropology is like a breeze, or rest of the anthropology is like a cakewalk. Just fearing these three simple topics, most of the people, unnecessarily label these three topics as difficult. But I strongly believe these three topics are not difficult. So if I may ask you guys quickly this question, is that really difficult, these three ideas which we have discussed? No, I did not discuss with you any deep level analytical concepts or anything like that. I have just tried to orient you guys to these ideas. So did you guys ever felt at any point of time that these ideas are difficult? Quickly respond, please. And we spend a lot of time on each of these topics in regular classes, like 8-10 hours of classes. So when you spend in 8 to 10 hours of classes, I'm pretty sure, quickly respond. I'm not sure if you guys are actually listening to the class or not. Only if you respond, then I would get to know. Okay, then this will take me to, so we have seen chapter 1.1 to 1.6. Now I will get into straight into chapter 2.1. Chapter 1.7 is just in the nature of, again, another introductory topic like chapter 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, wherein we will just learn few basics of biology, which will actually be of a lot of help to you in your regular general science classes also, and that so-called basics of biology which you will be learning as part of chapter 1.7 will also help you in entire chapter 9.1, 9.2, from chapter 9 to chapter 12, which is part of the physical anthropology given in our syllabus. It will be of help to you. So generally, like in the orientation session, I'll not touch upon chapter 1.7, but you can quickly run through the syllabus. So what you can see in chapter 1.7 is just simple topics which you find in your school textbooks, like what is a cell, what is a DNA, how the structure of the DNA will be there, what is a gene, what is a mutation, what is a chromosome, how the cell division, all the things which are mentioned in your regular school books are included as part of this particular component of the syllabus. Okay, so now let's get into another important component, that is chapter 1.8. Chapter 1.8 is a very important topic. They kind of repeatedly ask questions from the chapter 1.8. Now, what they have mentioned in the syllabus, observe carefully. Principles of prehistoric archaeology, and as part of that they have mentioned relative and absolute dating methods. Then they have asked, see, till now in chapter 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, what we have seen is, we have seen organic evolution or physical evolution. Observe carefully. Till now, from 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, we have seen is organic evolution, means how the physical body is evolving. Is what we have seen. And if you observe the term in this chapter, what they have said, what they're expecting us to read, they're expecting us to read cultural evolution. Cultural evolution means how the culture has evolved over time. Observe carefully. What they are trying to say is how the culture has evolved over time. And in this chapter, again, what we will try to learn as part of this archaeology, and I know archaeology also might be a slightly unfamiliar term to some of you, but let's say I'm sure some of you would have seen or visited some like heritage structures where you would see boards like Department of Archaeology. So what these guys are interested in, archaeologists, what they try to do, their job actually is very exciting. They'll try to dig the earth. And what they'll try to do by digging the earth is they will try to identify some objects Objects. We use one technical term called as artifacts in regular class, but for now let me use this simple term called as objects. In chapter 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, people do the same thing. They dig the earth and they see skeletons, and based on skeleton or studying the skeleton, they are trying to understand how the physical form has evolved over time. Now understand this connection. Whereas these guys, archaeologists, what they do, they dig the earth. Instead of focusing on the skeleton, they would focus on the objects, isn't it? If people has lived, don't you think along with the people might be using many things also on day-to-day basis? Simple, right? Let's imagine today night the entire earth extinguishes, or okay, entire India gets buried, some one big catastrophic event happens. Let's say a piece of moon gets broken from the moon and the piece of moon falls on India and there is no India. And let's say after 1,000 years or 2,000 years, somebody would come to India, and if they dig India, don't you think they'll find all these things? They'll not just find skeletons, right? Along with skeletons, they'll also find different cities. They'll also find all the things which we use on day-to-day basis, right? As simple as that. As simple as that. When you dig deep in the earth, you will find living organisms like humans or animals, or you also find non-living entities. You also find non-living entities like different objects. So just like chapter 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, mandate is to dig earth, see those living organisms and understand how the physical forms have evolved over time. Chapter 1.8 does the same thing. Archaeology does the same thing. Dig the earth, identify the object and see how things have evolved over time. How things, objects have evolved over time. So that is the mandate of this particular topic called as archaeology. Mandate of this topic called as archaeology. And all these names, fancy names which you are seeing like Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic, Copper Bronze Age, Iron Age. The names on its face might look little bit unfamiliar to you, but they are not at all difficult. There is a subtle difference from something difficult and something unfamiliar. We have a tendency to get confused between difficult things and unfamiliar things. Unfamiliar things are the things which are just not known to you. Difficult things are actually difficult. Let's say a mathematical problem is actually difficult to solve. Just like that, in my personal opinion, all the anthropology or most of the anthropology is just about little bit of unfamiliarity. It is less, or it is absolutely, there is nothing difficult in anthropology. It is more of unfamiliarity. Once you get familiarized with it, you will start feeling that comfort. You will start feeling that it is so easy. And as we illustrate the same through multiple images, and we tend to go slow in the classes and we tend to revise things in the class, you would feel that this so-called unfamiliar thing which students have a tendency to think as difficult is actually not difficult. It is actually so easy to understand. Now, all these are English words. There is not much anthropology in this. Now, I said culture has evolved over time, right? Culture has evolved over time. Culture has evolved over time. Let us see this. And in the syllabus, they have given these names, like they said, okay, Paleolithic, and they have given something like Mesolithic, and they have given a name called as Neolithic, and they have given a name called Copper Bronze Age, and they have given Chalcolithic Age, Copper Bronze Age, and they have given another name called as Iron Age. If you remember, in the beginning of this archaeological anthropology, I said that when you dig deeper, especially the archaeology guy, what he would be interested in? He would be interested in identifying some objects. So when they have dug deeper and deeper inside the earth, in the Paleolithic layer they have found some objects, and in Mesolithic layer they have found some objects. In the Neolithic layer they have found some objects. In the Chalcolithic layer they have found some objects. And in the Copper Bronze age they have found some objects. In the Iron age they have found some objects. Now what they have done is, they have kept all these objects. Let's call this object A, let's call this object B, let's call this object C, let's call this object D, let's call this object E, let's call this object F. And you know what they have done? Okay, I am digging deeper and deeper inside the earth, and in the each layer I am finding objects. And what they try to do is, they would have compared, okay, A is used for, let's say A is used for preparing food, B also is used for preparing food, C also is used for preparing food, D also is used for preparing food, E also is used for preparing food, F also is used for preparing food. But everything is evolving over time. The tools or instruments are evolving over time, just like your smartphones. They have started from iPhone 2s, 3s, whatever, and now they are in the 16s. Every time the model is getting upgraded. Every time the model is getting upgraded. Here also, the tools people are using are getting constantly upgraded. The tools people are using are getting constantly upgraded. I have used another term called as evolution instead of using the word upgraded. I have used the term evolution instead of using the term called as upgraded. Things have evolved over time. And how did I get to know that things have evolved over time? We have excavated the earth, we have gone deeper into the layers of the earth, we have picked those objects and we have arranged them and we have compared them. The same object which is used for the same purpose, its sophistication or its finesse has evolved, has changed over the time. Just like the model of your car, just like the model of your phone or anything that has evolved over the time, the objects which people have used has evolved over millions of years ago. And what factors or what led to these changes and why these kind of changes happened, that is the mandate of this archaeological anthropology. It actually, when explained with examples, sounds very interesting, because in this process we will appreciate many things. How the houses of the people have changed, how what people are eating has changed over time, and how people, things or tools people used to hunt has changed over time, what led to those changes. And this way we also link it to what we study as part of physical anthropology again, right? So physically humans are evolving. As physically humans are evolving, so according to the change in their physical characteristics, the tools they are using are also evolving. The tools, that is little bit tricky to explain in an orientation session, but think little bit of this and try to imagine a little bit of it. As the physical form of the human is evolving, the physical form of the human is evolving, simultaneously or parallel to that, the objects the humans are using are also evolving. Or it could be other way around. The objects the people are using also would have stimulated the physical changes in the human being. It's a kind of bi-directional relationship. It's a kind of bi-directional relationship, but simply understand that the whole mandate of this topic is understanding in archaeological anthropology to look at these objects, like this, observe them, how they are changing, and how they are in the present form, and appreciating these changes and trying to understand what factors led to these changes. So this is the primary ambit or this is the mandate of another interesting chapter called as archaeological anthropology. We have we have seen evolutionary anthropology. We have seen a little bit of we have seen evolutionary anthropology, which I said is a subset of archaeological anthropology, subset of biological anthropology, and now we also have seen something called as archaeological anthropology. Okay, let me show quickly 2-3 images, then you will understand the mandate of this topic called as archaeological anthropology. So like this, so we will just see how this is the earliest tool human has ever used. This is the first ever tool our ancestor has used, and like this they would have used these kind of tools in the beginning days, and gradually this is how the tools have evolved over the time. These are the kind of tools they would have used in the beginning days, and this is how the tools have evolved over the time. That is the not just tools, all the objects which human has used have evolved over the time, and that is what we will be studying as part of the mandate of this particular topic called as archaeological anthropology, right? So let me quickly consolidate. So till now what we have done, chapter 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, I said it's a gateway to anthropology. It's just introducing us to what exactly is anthropology. Chapter 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 is evolutionary anthropology, which I said again is a subset of broader physical anthropology. Then I said chapter 1.7 is just in the nature of some basics we have to learn to make us well prepared to chapters 9 to chapter 12, which we will be discussing eventually as part of our subsequent sessions. Then chapter 1.8 is specific and has a specific mandate, as I said, in chapter 1.6, which is more of fossil man, or there is another fancy name for it called as paleontology, which I will be using in the regular class. I dig the earth, I'll find skeletons. By understanding, analyzing the skeleton, I'll try to prove that physically humans, there is a physically we have evolved from our ancestral humans to the present form. Just like that, I'll dig again and I'll also find some objects, and based on the objects, I'll again observe and analyze that even the objects have evolved over time. For that, I gave a term called as organic evolution, and for this, I gave a term called as cultural evolution. Cultural evolution. And from this chapter, from chapter 2.1, anthropology becomes breeze. Little bit of difficulty students face only in the beginning days of anthropology, that too after chapter 1.8. Starting from chapter 2.1 till the completion of the syllabus, the rest of the anthropology becomes even more exciting, even more interesting, and we can also quickly complete the syllabus like a breeze. Syllabus also goes little slow only till chapter 1.8. Once we reach the stage of chapter 2.1, then as I already said, anthropology goes like a breeze. And as chapter 2.1 and its mandate is slightly different from the mandate of what all we have discussed till now, evolutionary anthropology, archaeology, anthropology, let us start in a fresh session. What exactly is sociocultural anthropology, which begins with chapter 2.1 of our syllabus. Okay, so let us call it a day and quickly keep taking down some notes what we are discussing in the class, and by the time our regular sessions start, at least you will have that familiarity that okay, this is what I can expect from our classes. Thank you so much.